What's up YouTube, Car Boss here, back in another video where we talk about cars, money, investing, and today is episode 6 of the By the Numbers series where we discuss Marvel PMG, specifically my February transaction where I sold my entire 2013 PMG Blue portfolio to a single buyer. Now, I already did a video on why I sold my PMGs at the time, so do check out that video in the link in the description below. And today we're going to dive into the financial numbers of how the cards originated and how it was priced and valued at the point of sale. All right, let's go. So to quickly recap, around mid-2021, I started pursuing the 2013 Marvel Precious Metal Gems, specifically the blues that is numbered out of 50. Now, I did several videos in the past talking about PMGs, including why I felt blues were a solid investment of choice given its more median price range compared to the largely available reds that's numbered out to 100 and the super scarce green that's numbered to 10. So just so you guys know, right, there is a large number of 2013 PMG greens that are ending on Goldine next week. So it'd be kind of interesting to see where the prices end on these. On the high times, right, these greens average around $10,000 to $15,000 each. So given what we know about the market prices today, it would make good case study to see where these prices land versus the peaks in February as well as roughly a year ago when the first Spider-Man 2013 PMG green sold for $13,000, which was considered a record at that time. Now back to my blues. The first PMG 2013 blue I purchased was a Psylocke, raw from eBay. At the point in time, the intention wasn't to put together a set or anything like that, but myself, like most Marvel fans, would agree that the 2013 PMG Psylocke has one of the nicest looking art, and for $400 buy now, it was kind of a no-brainer, even though at the time, I believe you could still buy other PMG blues for less than $200, which is evident from my subsequent purchases of the Iron Fist and Iceman. But the big splash came in the form of Iron Man for almost $3,700. Now at that point in time, $3,700 was the most expensive Marvel card I ever purchased to date. Now I've already acclimated several Miles Morales 2017 PMGs at that time, including a couple of blues which did not breach the $1,000 mark, which was the cap I kind of set for myself when dealing with Marvel cards. People often forget that the Marvel explosion only started around early January, February 2021, when we talk about the Marvel Universe 1990 Impel. So Marvel collectors weren't used to spending like thousands of dollars around. But, Iron Man being Iron Man, I felt this was worth the big splash. And, my mind was trying to get a card graded, hopefully get a PSA 9, and perhaps, sell for around $5,000 for a nice 25 to 35% return. Of course, at the time, I didn't really know how condition sensitive Marvel PMGs were and how difficult it was to get a 9, let alone a PSA 10. The low pop count in the reports just shows how few were submitted at that point in time. But what the Iron Man purchase did was to trigger a pursuit, a direction to add more pieces into the fold, which you can see the Galactus, the Storm, Sabretooth, and Apocalypse, not long after. I graded Iron Man to PSA via Express, which is the only service available at the time, for $150 and had to settle for PSA 8, which was kind of a disappointment. Anyway, now you may ask, as an investor, that's very few pieces over the course of 2 months, and normally my strategy when it comes to investing like this is to blitz a particular set of cards, and why haven't I done so? Price of course was a hindrance, and I was being very careful not to set the bar too high and picking off the cards carefully and slowly. The second factor was that the PMG Blue play became from a short-term flip strategy to a longer-term play. So I was kind of happy to take my time in buying in at a lowest cost base possible. So while I was investing in other cards outside the PMG, I always had searches on the PMG Blues for pieces to be added to my portfolio at reasonable prices. So when the opportunity came to add Captain America came, right? That kind of anchored the plan completely. But what's funny is that the price I paid for that Captain America Blue at $2,800 was actually lower than the previous comp set a week or two prior. I lost out on a couple of auctions that closed around $3,300 to $3,800. Now I was determined to get this one, so I bid high and was ecstatic to secure a copy at this price. But this also led me to think that there are a handful of people who are looking to this space at the moment, and the market hasn't really caught up yet. But once November rolled around, it felt like the cat was out of the bag and the market really dried up for these PMGs. There were a number of listings still on COMC, but my attention was back and forth, with the start of NBA season, and I talked about the Black Friday sale in late November being the lowest price point for these PMGs, before the market really went crazy. But from then on, when we saw the news of Marvel cards going out of control, starting with the PMG Red Spider-Man, that sold on No Way Home opening weekend for $72,000. This was, of course, wasn't the peak of the market, but it set the snowball in motion leading up to late January, early February, and it's kind of set up, the turning point in my Marvel investing journey. So in late January 2022, I was approached by a party who asked if I was interested to move some of my Marvel PMGs, which I posted on eBay, specifically the Iron Man and Captain America, both now in PSA slabs. And at the point, I was listing each of these cards for a ridiculous price, or at least I thought was ridiculous, at $20,000 each, and lowered them to $15,000 a week later without getting a single inquiry or a single offer. So I entertained the idea of moving these two pieces, on the premise that I will be able to move the other pieces as well that was currently on its way back from PSA. Now I knew if I sold my two pillars in my portfolio, it would be difficult to move the other pieces at a profit. I guess I would still make profit, consider my low cost base, but I might get better leverage if we discuss a deal all at once. And it wasn't like the rest of the cards were duds, right? There were still several strong pieces like Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, both coming off the announcement of the Multiverse of Madness. So if there was a right time to sell, in my opinion, this was it. The numbers were tossed back and forth on the valuations, but I had a simple math in my head. $10,000 each on the Iron Man and Captain America, both PSA 8s, $4,000 each on the Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, both also PSA 8s, and $1,500 each on the remaining 8 cards, totaling $12,000. Which brings my estimated total to $40,000. And you compare to the cost base of just $14,400, it was 64% margin of roughly 2.8x return. And I was pretty happy with this valuation, of course, but I wanted to take off some of the upside as much as I could. Now, of course, no one could have predicted the explosion in the Marvel card prices post-Atlanta culture collision, but I closed the transaction at $48,000, a full 20% above my initial valuation, bringing my total profits to $33,600 and basically 3.3 times my original investment over the course of 6 to 7 months roughly. Right. So I guess a lot of people would come out to say I should have waited and earned a lot more in the open market, like the Captain America alone went for $20,000 in Goldin and later on went to $88,000. And who knows, maybe Iron Fist himself could have fetched like $5,000 or even $10,000. But I like to play with certainties and analyze deals that's in front of me from a holistic perspective of A, the present financial returns, and obviously, right, and B, the opportunities from divesting now and the return of capital to refunnel into other investments or projects. And this has been my continuous strategy to grow. Of course, some of us probably just have one or two core pieces, and that's okay. We want to make as much profit as possible. But the one thing you can't control is how to time the market correctly. I believe I sold when the market was peaking, definitely not at its peak. I wouldn't say it would be impossible to yield a higher return that if I had waited, right? But negotiations would have been a lot tougher because both buyers and seller recognize that they are in the heat of the market and more money is being on the table at the moment. But for me, $33,600 is no small return. And there was a lot that was done with that money to expand in other areas. And at that point in time, when Spider-Man Blue came in at $100,000 in January, I realized that the set chase was over. But looking at recent prices that has come down from its highs, I probably would have been able to put together a set reasonably. However, I wouldn't have that $48,000 cash in my pocket, and that would kind of like altered the timeline to a totally different direction. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this By the Numbers episode. Do like and subscribe for more content on my channel. Thanks again for watching. Cowboys out.